everybody, and welcome to today's After School Club Make It. My name is Kim. I am Community Learning Specialist with DoSpace, and today we are going to be making a room alarm. So, if this is going to be great, if maybe you have some older or younger siblings that like to sneak into your room, maybe play with your things. I know as a younger sibling, the youngest, I would like to sometimes sneak into my sister's room to play with sometimes they had cooler toys or things like that. And maybe you're like, no, I don't need that. And so we are making a room alarm. So this is what we are making today. So it doesn't look like much, but basically we have our alarm here. It's connected to a battery, and in essence, this is connected to like your door, and then you can connect this to, or maybe outside your door, and then you connect this to your door. So if the door opens, then, and friends, this is gonna be loud. It'll pull open. Ooh, let me do it real quick. Oh, it's so loud. I hope that didn't just like totally crash your totally crash your earbuds if you're listening to earbuds. But yes, in essence, that's what they're making. So then you would know, hey, somebody's coming to my room. So yeah, so this is what we're making today. So hopefully, if you are watching this, you were able to pick up one of our take and make kits that looks like this. And so inside you will have most of everything you will need. If you are watching this and you don't have the items, I'm gonna go ahead. I have a list of things that you will need. So I'm gonna move our example out of the way, and I'm gonna kind of unbag this and to show you what we have. So for your kit, piece of paper is stuck. So you will need for this project today, you will need a 9-volt battery. You are going to need a 9-volt battery clip. So that means that's what this guy is. So it's like it has the kind of the bits that kind of easily clip onto the leads to our battery, and then our wires are kind of exposed. So yeah, so that's what that clip is. You are going to need a 9-volt buzzer. So I know mine on my my example looks a little bit different than maybe the one if you got one of the kits look a little bit different, but that's going to be what this is. This is going to be your buzzer, and I think it actually even makes a little bit different of a noise. When I bought everything, I bought exactly 20, and so or just exactly enough for the number of kits that we were giving out. And so I needed an extra, and then we had an extra here. Or I made an extra for me. You are going to need a clothespin. So we got a clothespin right here. You are going to need about 4 inches, or maybe a little bit more. This might actually be more like 6 inches. Let's measure later. Of some copper tape. So we have some copper tape here. You will need some double-sided tape. We got some double-sided tape here. Foam tape, and then about in your kit you have about a foot or 12 inches of string. If you might need more, you might need less. It kind of depends on the placement, on how you place it onto your door. And so if you are needing a longer string, I'm sure, people have string around, yarn, things like that. And then your kit will also have some painter's tape. So that's what we have here. Some things that you may not have, and so this is kind of the list again. Hopefully it wants to. Doesn't. Sometimes it likes to stay fuzzy. But some other tools you will need that didn't get provided in your kit. You're going to need a piece of chipboard or like cardboard that is 5 inches by 7 inches. And so this is just like, chipboard is like your cereal box. I just cut a cereal box and into a 5" by 5" by 7" kind of rectangular piece. You could use cardboard. It's not as easy, like regular cardboard, it's not as easy to cut. You know, obviously this is a little bit lighter. You're going to be sticking it up on a door or onto a wall, so you're wanting it to be a little bit lighter. So this chipboard just kind of, it's stable enough to put everything on, but not super heavy, and it's easy to cut. So you're going to need that. You're going to need some scissors. You need some scissors. You're going to need a hole punch or something that you're able to make a hole into your chipboard with. You're going to need a ruler, and so you need a ruler and then a pencil. So that is everything you are going to be needing to make our alarm today. So how about we get started on our alarm. So I'm going to move some things just so they're a little bit out of the way. And the first thing we are going to need to do is you are going to hopefully, if I'm hoping that if you're watching this and you got the kit, that you've already made your kind of piece of chipboard or your piece of cardboard into your 5.5 or 5 by 7" rectangle. If you haven't, that's okay. You can go ahead and do that. Obviously, if you have your ruler, I like to do it in a corner, and you just kind of make tick marks. And you can either use it with scissors. I used it with, I created mine with a box cutter. If you're doing that, make sure you're getting help if you are a youngin', help from a grown-up. If hopefully you've already done that. But what we are going to do next is we are actually going to cut a kind of a sliver off of our piece of chipboard. And so we are needing to measure about 3/4 inch into our, we're going to make 2 marks on the top and of the bottom, and we're going to go make about a 3/4 mark. And so a 3/4 mark, if we can get this so it's not incredibly blurry and terribly, I'm going to try and get it so it's not terribly, oh, there we go. Okay, so 3/4, we see our inch there. So our inch can be divided into fourths. And that's going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have our 1/2 inch, which is that longer, and then in between those kind of longer, those a little bit shorter than, the half, but longer than everything, is your 1/4 of an inch and your 1/3 of an inch. So we are going to that 1/3 of an inch in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this into frame. What I'm going to do is going to kind of, and this doesn't have to be perfect, is I'm going to measure, kind of align the edge of my piece of cardboard with my 1/3 of an inch marker. And then I am going to then make a little tick mark at the very end inch, at the very beginning. So then I know that it's a 3/4 of an inch over. Which that does not seem, because I did it at, I'm silly, friends. I didn't do it at the right one. I'm going to erase that. Okay, I think I did it at the 1/4 of an inch. I'm silly. Okay, so 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 1/3 of an inch. I'm going to measure out my 1/3 of an inch and then make a little tick, 1/3 of an inch in, do the same. Oh, you're noisy. Do the same over to this side, measure the end of my cardboard with 1/3 of an inch, and then make a little mark at the beginning marker of our ruler. And then I'm just going to use my ruler, and I'm just going to just level up those 2 marks. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly perfect, but I'm going to just then draw a line down connecting those 2 marks, and that should be roughly a 1/3 of an inch. There we go. Perfect. Okay, then we are going to cut this off. We're going to cut this piece off. So you'll take your scissors and just cut that piece off. Okay, so then we are going to take the piece that we just cut, and basically we're going to measure from the top about 1.5 inches. So obviously we have our inch, and then the second longest tick mark on our ruler is our half. So 1.5 inches. So now I'm just going to, probably because it's so thin, I'm just going to make a little, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches, and I know this is kind of hard to see because my ruler is reflective, which is not the best for camera work, but I'm going to make it 1.5 inches down, and then I'm just going to cut that across. So we have, and then we don't actually need this, and then we have our little, this is going to be our little tab that separates our, basically acts as our switch. It's going to act as our switch. Okay, and then you will need, now you will need your hole punch or something to make a hole in your piece of, kind of in your switch, and it's, I would say about 1/4 of an inch in. I mean, a little bit if you're going in, so you're just, you know, you're not right on the, so your hole's not going right on the edge, so there's a little bit of distance. So just about that. So that when we tie, we're going to be tying our string to this, and so when this pulls out, it won't like tear through. I mean, this, if you get it too thin, like the distance between the hole and the edge, if it's too thin, it might tear out, and you don't want it to tear out. Okay, so then real quick, and you can do this now, or you can do this later when you're measuring, kind of when you're installing your room alarm. You can kind of figure out if the piece that was in your kit was long enough, or if you need another piece. But if you want, you can just tie the string in the hole. I'm just going to do a couple of square knots, or just, you know, if you're just classic knots, if you're doing a classic knot over and in and pulling so that it stays put. So now, yeah, so now you have, this is going to act like your switch, so this is going to pull out from your, like if my fingers were the paper clips, eventually this is going to pull away, and when it pulls out between the paper clips, your circuit's going to be complete, and it will make your alarm go off. Yeah. Okay. So now we are going to need our, I'm going to move our scissors for the time being, and we are done with the scissors right now and the hole punch. So you're going to need your, I always blank on what these are called. You're going to need your clothespin. There we go. And then this is your copper tape. So this copper tape is really cool. It is what's called conductive. It is conductive tape. So, you know, what is conductive? What's something that's conductive? Something that's conductive allows electricity to flow through it. So, you know, a lot of times metals are conductive. Salt water, salty things are conductive. Lemons are conductive. Potatoes are conductive. Play-Doh, because it has salt in it, is conductive. Things like that. So anything that allows electricity to flow through it is conductive. And since this is copper tape, it is conductive. So it's going to, this is going to kind of act like a little bit like a wiring system that allows our electricity to flow through it, and because it's sticky, it's really, really nice to do projects like this. So what we are going to do, so I'm going to say we are not going to need right now this entire piece. I'm going to say we are going to need about half of it. So, or yeah, I would say about half of it. So if you want to kind of either tear it or cut it in half, I'm just going to tear it. An easy way to do that is just to kind of fold it and make a little crease in the middle, and you can just tear. The nice thing about this stuff is it tears pretty nicely. And then what you're going to do actually is I want you to do that one more time. Just we're going to use a half of a, like we're going to be using, we're going to tear this part. So I just kind of bent it and tore the long piece in half, and then you're going to take half of that. Basically, we're going to be tearing that into two parts as well. And so we're going to be using both of these. So what we are going to do, oh, you're also going to be needing your buzzer and your battery connector, your battery clip. So basically what we're going to be making right now is the part of the circuit. And we are going to be connecting the black wires to each of these components onto each one side of each of our clothespin. So let's talk about this really quickly. So we have our battery. We're going to be connecting our battery to our, obviously our battery clip. And then we have then wires basically on both of these, a red wire and a black wire. So, and that is because our battery is polarized. Our battery is polarized, which means all batteries, no matter how big or small they are, have a negative polarity. Oop, there you go. Polarity and a positive one. And so in this case, you can see one side is positive with our little plus sign. So I know that this side, this kind of terminal is the positive terminal. And then on the other side, we have our negative. So I know this is our negative terminal. And a lot of times in electronics and circuitry and things like that, you know, other components are polarized as well, like little LED bulbs are polarized. This is polarized, and we know that this is polarized because it has two colors of wire. We have our red wire and our black wire, just like this. And so what we are, basically the color wires just tells us where our, basically kind of like what side or the flow of our electricity is flowing. So in a circuit, you know, it's called a circuit because usually it's circular, right? If we were to connect, basically everything needs to kind of connect and kind of, you know, in a general sense, a circular form. We're going to be connecting our battery to the buzzer, and if we were to do this, let's get this, we would be connecting, basically we're going to be connecting the positive side of our battery, which is going to be flowing through the positive wire of our clip, which is signified in red. A lot of in electronics and circuitry and things like this, the red wire or colored wire usually signifies or represents the positive flow of the electrons coming from our battery. So, and then the black wire represents the negative, or like represents that it's connected to the negative terminal. So we need to then, you know, in circuitry, most of the time it's, you know, you connect positive to positive and negative to negative. So we are going to be connecting our negative part, or the negative terminal of our battery, to the negative wire or negative terminal to our buzzer, and it can be positive to positive, and that's going to get our buzzer a buzzing. And so, and that's basically kind of how a lot of circuitry works. Not all components are polarized. Switches a lot. If we had like a button switch or a slide switch, a lot of times those are not polarized. There are other components that are not polarized. Next week we are going to be kind of taking this, doing a project almost to the next level with a lot of different components, and we'll talk about that a little then. But in this case, our component that we are trying to basically activate or get going is polarized. So we are going to make sure that we are connecting the positive terminal to our battery to the positive wire and negative to negative. And we're going to be getting the help with that with our conductive tape. So what we are going to do first is so this tape is kind of tricky. It likes to roll back. So you can see this top part is our shiny, it's not sticky. We have the white part. This is, like on, any kind of sticker or anything that's kind of sticky, you're gonna have to like pull this off to reveal the adhesive sticky part. Try not to pull it all off at once. It likes to roll back on itself. I like to, a trick that I've learned is kind of, especially if you're tearing it and you kind of have some like ridginess to it, if you can kind of see if it wants to focus in, it's not wanting to focus in. But what I like to do is just take my, the pad of my finger, and you can kind of even just like a little bit roll. And sometimes, even if there's like the exposed, white protective part, you can kind of separate those out. So you just want to kind of pull a little bit down. Don't take it all off because, like I said, it tends to roll back on itself. So what we're going to do, we're basically going to be wrapping this around one kind of this part of our paper clip. And if you have a grown-up with you, they may need help either, holding this open, holding the paper, I'm calling it a paper clip, it's a clothespin, holding the clothespin open while you wrap their tape, or maybe vice versa. But what we are going to want to do is I'm going to start kind of at the top, just like that. And then I'm going to hold it open with my non-dominant hand, and kind of by pulling the white part, I'm going to kind of pull this around, and do not stick this all the way down yet. Don't stick it all the way down. Keep it a little bit open. Because what we are going to do is we are wanting to, and I'm going to kind of, we are going to be placing the black wire of the 9-volt clip onto the copper tape, and then we're going to be kind of bringing it up and over the tape, up and over, and taping it down so it stays in place. If yours isn't quite long enough, if you need to get out your a little bit, if you need to tear off a little bit of the blue painter's tape, you can also do that as well. Like, you need to kind of press it down over the tape over the wire. We just need to make sure, it's kind of hard to tell. You just want to make sure that the wire has a very good connection, is lying really nice and flat on top of that copper tape, the first part that we laid down at the very, very beginning. We want to make sure there's a really nice, good connection. And because the better the connection, the better your circuit works. So that is going there. And then we are going to do the same on the other side, but we're going to be connecting the black wire of the buzzer to the other side. So you're going to take the other half of your kind of halvesy copper tape, and you're going to kind of bring it, kind of unroll it just a little bit. So unrolling a little bit. And again, kind of lining it up, kind of pressing it down. I'm going to, with my non-dominant hand, open this up. Oops. And see, I didn't give myself not quite enough tape, so I think I'm going to make sure, I'm just going to take a little bit, just a little square, and keep this down. Now I don't want to, just to keep it down, you don't want to put blue tape in between. You definitely don't want to do that. Okay, So I'm just put that little piece there. Gonna open this up. We're gonna bring this over and around. And this seems like a little bit longer. We're going to take the exposed black, the wire of your black one, exposed wire of your black wire, because it's like basically the rubbery stuff that you see, like the color of the black and the red, that's insulator. That's going to basically, electricity does not flow through that, and so it just creates like a protective barrier between like you and the electricity flowing through. So again, you're going to want to kind of place that exposed core wire down in a way so that when you wrap over the rest of your copper tape, it's kind of taping it down. And if you need to, again, I'm just going to kind of, just to give it an extra good seal, put a little bit of that painter's tape down to keep it in place. So now, this is kind of, now we've kind of made it so you can kind of see how that works now. Boop. And we've made the first part of our circuit. Okay. So the next part we are going to do is we're going to need our your now big piece of board, and you're going to take some of your foam tape. And I am now realizing I may not have given you enough. So you, maybe if you have, like, we'll see. I think you should have enough. We'll doubly check and see. But basically it's on a piece of wax paper. So we are, if you just want to peel, hopefully it peels off okay. Oh my goodness, it may not, friends. Wait, hold up, am I doing it the right side? I did like parchment paper because it, oh my goodness, friends, your double-sided foam tape might not work. I'm just not realizing we've done this so often with like other tapes that I just assumed it would work. Oh my goodness, my friends, I am so sorry about this. Okay, this is what you can do. I'm pretty sure I gave everybody enough of the painter's tape. Or you can really use, basically what we're needing to do is, just kind of like tape down the, we're just taping down the pin, the clothespin, and the buzzer. So really, if you have some other tape, oh, my red wires are kind of screwy. I should have tested that. I'm so sorry, friends. We've done this with so many other things that I just assumed it would work, and it's not. Oh my goodness. My apologies, friends. Basically, we just need to make sure that like the pin, the clothespin, and the alarm are just kind of stuck to here. So if you have some, you should have some extra tape. If you need to like really tape it down, or maybe you have some, command strips, or maybe you have some other like double-sided tape, things like that. You may have that around your house, but otherwise you can just kind of, if you need to, just tape it down your buzzer on your chipboard or on your piece of cardboard. I'm just going to do it like this. Kind of the nice thing about this alarm is that, or this buzzer, is it kind of has these wings. So, oh yeah, that works. And then we can do the same in just like taping down this one. So, boom. Friends, we got it figured out. You may have to be a little bit more creative when you're attaching it to your wall. or your door, things, whatever. However, it's best to install. So for you in your home. Also, make sure you're consulting your parents with that, your grown-ups. Okay, so we can just like kind of tape that down on one side, and then I'll just kind of do the other side. You know, sometimes that's the thing about projects like this. Sometimes you have to improvise. And that's where, you know, your creativity can really come into play. It's like, okay, this is problem solving right here. We came into an issue, and how do we problem solve the issue? How do we figure out a way to continue on with our project without the materials that you need? And so this is problem solving. This is like figuring out a solution, and this is, you know, solution, problem solving in action. So yeah, there you go, boom. Didn't even need that double-sided tape. Okay, so we have that connected. So now what you are going to do, we are going to take our other piece of, I might need to put a little bit more tape down on this guy. He's not wanting to stay. You just stay put, wire. There we go. Tape is great. Okay, so we are needing to kind of put the rest of our copper tape down onto our thing. And again, you don't want to peel the whole thing. I mean, I guess you could. I don't like to do that because it really curls up on itself, and then it gets like really wrinkly, and you don't really want it wrinkly. I like to peel it back a little bit, peel it back, and then to really, you know, expose a little, almost a little tab, a little sticky tab. This side's sticky, this side is not, and I put the sticky side down. I kind of fold the white part underneath it, and I put the sticky side down like that, and then you can see this is the exposed tab. And then what I like to do is, like, I like to pull it and then bring my other finger and I'll follow the tape and press it down. So you can see how even just that. Boom. And then it lays down really, really nicely. So what we are going to do next is we are basically going to then use some of this blue painter's tape and put a little bit, put some tape, and we're going to basically tape down the red exposed wire, this red exposed wire, and we're going to tape that down to the copper tape that we just laid down. So I am going to just take this off, and oop, there we go. And you really don't need a lot. I'm actually going to cut this piece in half. I'm going to just make sure that that's laying down as flat as it can. This exposed wire, you can kind of see this exposed wire right here. We want that to lay down on your copper tape as much as possible, and putting your painter's tape over it, and you just want to really press it down, because again, we want a really, really good connection of that this exposed inner wire to this tape. And I'm going to do the same to my the wire to my buzzer. Just get it nice and pressed down. Okay, so this is where the fun begins, and to see if your circuit works. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get everything in place. I'm going to put my switch inside, so that is good to go. We are going to connect, I'm going to really quickly connect my battery to the battery clip. And so the easiest way is, you can kind of see that one terminal is kind of bigger than the other, and same with this. So you just kind of fit them in the opposite. So I'm going to put the big terminal in the small terminal spot, and the small terminal in the big terminal spot. That should clip in. So now here is the moment of truth, and I am going to actually turn down my mic a little bit just so that it doesn't blow you guys out if it's really, really loud like our other one. So one moment. And it was so loud. So, did yours work? Mine obviously worked. Did yours work? Is this really noisy alarm going to be addressing any kind of sneaky people going into your room? Yeah, so yay, it works. So really the next thing you do is, oh, these wires can be a little tricky, is that you can then take the rest of your tape, or some of your tape, and tape this to your battery. That's what this is. Tape your battery to your piece of cardboard. Put it in place. And yeah, and then all you'd have to do is install it. So basically to install it, I think the best way is to put this on the wall next to your room, and then you would tape this side of the kind of loose side of your string to your door. So then if somebody were to open it, it will sound the alarm. And so, yeah, maybe you are down in the basement or down somewhere else in the kitchen, away from your room, and you don't want that sneaky, maybe younger sibling coming in to play with your toys. I know I have some nephews that I have a I have a nephew that really does not like their younger brother playing with his toys. So yeah. So basically, everything is pretty much in place. You put this on the door, you stick this, or you place this on the area next to your door. You can do it inside or outside. I mean, obviously, you'd have to have kind of installation. You'd have to be, out where it was. It's hard to put this in there. If you were if you were trying to do this outside your door and you were inside your room. But you would then tape this onto your door, and then if somebody were to open your door, it will pull it out and sound the alarm. I'm not going to do it because it's very, very noisy. And I apologize ahead of time to our grown-ups maybe watching who's thinking like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so noisy. It's so noisy, but it's also kind of a lot of fun. And maybe you don't even have to do it to your room. Maybe it's like, maybe you want to do it and you have a secret fort somewhere, and you could do, you want to hear if anybody's coming into your secret fort. Or, maybe grown-ups. Maybe you have some kiddos that are sneaking cookies. You can put this in the pantry. They're trying to open the door. Boom. You'll know they're trying to get those cookies before dinner. So there's so many different applications for this project. But yeah, but this is basically, if you've never done something like this before, then you have made your first circuit. So basically, how our circuit goes, we have our electricity coming from our battery. Our electricity is going from our black wire to this side of our clothespin. When the circuit is completed, it's going over to the other side of our clothespin, which our black wire of our buzzer is connected to. Then this red wire is connected to our paper, or to our copper tape, which then goes over to the red wire to our battery clip, which then goes back to our battery, making a complete circuit. So right now the circuit is not complete. It is open because we have our piece of cardboard that's separating the circuit. And if you think of it kind of like a light switch. When the light switch is down, the circuit is open and the lights are off. And when you flip that switch up, something's closing, something's connecting, and the circuit is closed and the light turns on. So it's the exact same concept. Only it's a light. It is a piercing loud alarm. So yeah, so friends, I hope you had a lot of fun making this. I had a lot of fun making it. I think it's a really fun project. Um, Hopefully you can join us next week for our next project. I always forget the name of it, but a photo thing. And it's it's basically we're going to be creating a little bit more advanced circuit project where it will kind of emit through a microphone some noise when when light comes onto a light sensor. So we're going to be kind of dealing with a little bit more complex components, and I think we'll have a lot of fun. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me for today's Take and Make room alarm, and we will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.